Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. It's 6:30, so we'll get started. We'll call the Parks Commission meeting on August 18th to order. First is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And as folks are trickling in, yeah, if you could please fill out a form and then give it to me if you want to have public comment, that'd be great. So first, can I please get a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda for tonight.
Thanks.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? I'll put forth an amendment, proposed amendment, to change the order of the agenda and move the pickleball item, flip it with the playground replacement. There,
I'll second that.
second. Any discussion on the amendment? I'll call the vote then. All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, is there any further discussion on the motion to approve the agenda with the Lions Park playground replacement and the pickleball agenda items flip-flopped? Okay, I'll call the vote then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Next agenda item then is the approval of minutes, which we don't have. So we'll table that unless there's other thoughts.
So for correction, you need June's and July's, right?
That's correct, yeah. Okay, great. Public comment, it looks like we have a number. They're all on, pickleball is all that I have right now. So I'll just call folks up. And as a reminder, you'll have 6 minutes to speak. We'll ask you to please state your name and your address at the beginning. And, we're not gonna, we can't respond directly to you, but we can ask clarifying questions. Thanks. So first, is John want to talk?
Which one? John Howley?
John Howley, yeah.
You guys always pick me first. I need to get warmed
Turn in
up.
your form first. There you go.
All right, John Howley, 8190 Lake Jane Trail North. I live right next to, that's that park name. Lake Elmo, or,
Pebble?
help me here. Pebble Park, I am sorry, I had a long day at work. I live right next to Pebble Park. Unfortunately, I haven't come in front of your group before. I've been in front of the city council when I started out. I had someone come to my door years ago and tell me they are planning to turn Pebble Park tennis courts into pickleball. And at the time, I didn't know anything about pickleball. My parents play it, that's as far as I knew. She said, you do not, and let me preface this, she is, I think, a member of the local association. She said, you do not want this next to your house. The noise it generates is gonna drive you nuts. So doing my due diligence, I went to the city council meetings. Maybe I should have been coming to these meetings. So they changed our courts. We had 3 tennis courts. They changed it into 6 pickleball courts, 1 tennis court, and a practice board that they conveniently turned from the back corner. They moved it to face my property. I don't know if any of you guys have speakers in your house, but if you turn the speaker the right direction, it projects the noise even more. So as far as the pickleball court, so the pickleball court seems to be extremely popular in Pebble Park. I mean, obviously, there's a need for it, there's a want for it, people love the game. I have no problem with that. I've been involved in sports my entire life. I used to work with Mike Elam quite a bit for years and years. I have no problem with sports. What I have a problem with is the noise. The noise of pickleball is extremely loud. Now, we just take in that popping of the ball sound, and it sounds like that, but maybe 1,000 times an hour, maybe 2,000 times an hour you're hearing that. I have to hear that every day. They open the park, their tennis courts, the pickleball courts can be open any time of the day, so they can be out there at 6:30 in the morning, but they're usually there at 7 a.m., and they're loud. They start playing right away. So I can hear them playing the pickleball. It's very annoying if I'm trying to wake up or if I'm trying to get a good night's rest. I can hear them in my house. Obviously, my house is well within the 600 feet. It's more like 100 feet. I can hear them. But not only is a pickleball playing, nobody ever talks about the noise. I can hear every conversation they have in that court. Now, our court, if you know that court, it's elevated. And what happens when you have an elevated structure? It broadcasts noise even further. So I'm in my kitchen in the morning. Guess what? I can hear all their conversations. I can hear everything they're talking about. But it goes beyond the conversations. Pickleball players are some of the loudest players. And again, I've been active in sports. I've reffed sports full time. Some of this is approaching that noise level. The hell yeahs. The oh yeah, and at 7 a.m., I'm hearing this. Oh yeah, I mean, it's extremely loud, it's consistent, it's every single day. But it gets worse at night. There's certain groups at night, and I'd say ladies, close your ears, but the word fuck is said about 100 times an hour. Fuck yes, fuck yeah, oh yeah. I've called the police before. I've done my due diligence. I've called the police. Guess what happens next week? Oh, there's that guy that called the police on us. Yeah, so you're wondering why there's only 2 complaints? Well, yeah, sometimes we worry. I've got 3 little kids I gotta worry about. I got 2 little girls that I definitely don't let them out at night around the court. And the one time they did go out to the court, because yeah, they do like pickleball. They like tennis a little more, but they like pickleball. Hey kid, adult time. Yeah, I live right next door and they get kicked off. In addition to the noise, a lot of the things are extremely poorly planned. The parking lot is dirt. There's anywhere from 20 to, I've counted 65 cars up there just for the pickleball. Guess what they like to do every time they pull out? Spin their wheels. They love it. I live in a dust storm. My shit's covered with dust all day long. Sorry for the language. My stuff is covered in dust all day long. They spin out, I'm coughing. I'm on 2 inhalers already. I don't need any more dust in the air. I mean, that's, you can hear it in my voice right now. I have a hard time talking. When they did that, they did some improvements in the park. They cut down 3 trees real close to my property line. They also trimmed everything up to whatever the standard is, maybe 18 feet. Before, there used to be, I could kind of see the courts, but not really. Now I have a direct view. Anywhere in my house, I have a direct view of the courts. Most of my yard, direct view of the courts. So they took out anything that was blocking us. I did have 2 people over from the Oakdale City Council. I wanted a kind of a different opinion on everything. 2 different times, 2 different people. One said this would never happen in Oakdale. One said, did they do any studies on this? The lights stay on till 10 at night. Guess what you're lighting up? My yard. Over half my yard is lit up at night. And we can go further into the home values. The home values alone. This is on the National Association of Realtors website. They estimate, living next door to a pickleball, your house value drops 10 to 20% in value. Now, what I told the city council is something completely different. I told them my house is unsellable. When the hell is somebody gonna look at my house with 60 people making noise like they're at a football game and say, this is the house I want. My house is unsellable. We were told before it was built, they're gonna put noise abatement in, they're gonna put trees in. The project actually got put on standby, but guess what? I guess they thought we'd forget about it. They didn't do any of it. And again, they moved the practice court to face my house. I think that was kind of a, hey, thank you for the suggestion.
You
When
want
I
to update
did,
him
when
on
I
his
did
timeline?
buy my house, I did do my due diligence. I spent 2 weeks in that park. I'd go there at night and during the daytime. I've got a job where I can be out and about. I spent 2 weeks to case the park just to make sure, you know, everybody has a concern about the park. We all know the park's history. We all know what people think about the park. And I didn't have a problem with it at the time. If I went there now, guess what? I would never have bought that house.
Hey,
And
John,
just to wrap up, when it started, there was one of me. We're growing. We are growing. This just came to my attention yesterday. If I had known more, I would have gotten more people here. We could easily have 30, 40, 50 people here. They can hear this 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks away. They can hear this noise. And I know people aren't happy about it. So it's not just me. The group's growing. We're not going away either. We will be here. And, you know, we'd like some recourse to this.
thanks for your comment, John. Does anyone have any questions?
For me?
That's right, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I get a question tab, okay.
Okay, thank you. Tony? And again, if we could please have you state your name and your address, and then 6 minutes, and I'll give you a little signal if I need you to wrap up quicker.
My name's Tony Bonfee. I'm a 25-year resident of Lake Elmo. In my second house here, my address currently is 746 Ivywood Circle North. If you don't know where that is, I'm probably the closest citizen to a pickleball court. I'm guessing, but it's right across the street from my house. I didn't really prepare anything because I just found out about this meeting 2 hours ago, so. But I did want to come. I dropped what I had tonight to come up here and just talk. Everything he said is 100% correct. I agree with everything he said. We don't have the parking lot problem because we don't have a parking lot, which I'm gonna get to in a minute. We don't have the light problem because we don't have lights. But other than that, everything he said is spot on. We hear the swearing, we hear the yelling, we hear the balls, you know, dink, 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 all day long. And it just drives you batty. And it's from 6:30, 7 in the morning. Last night, they were still playing in the dark. 9 o'clock last night, dark out, and they're still out there playing. I said to my wife, I can't believe they can't even see the ball. And one more thing I want to say too, I'm a huge fan of the sport. I play 2 to 3 times a week. My wife plays 3 to 5 times a week. We don't play across the street from my house because we can't get on. The courts are so busy. But we belong other places and we play it quite often, so we're huge fans of the sport. The main reason I came, aside from the noise, is the parking. I came to the city council a year ago and talked about the parking problem, because in Ivywood, there's not a parking lot. And the street is very narrow there, so I came and I requested, can we get no parking on my side of the street? And I got shut down. Last night when I came home at 8 o'clock, there was 2 cars on one side, 2 cars on the other side. I couldn't get through. One guy had the door open, he was tying his shoes. We have to stop and wait for them to close the doors. If one of my neighbors, and I live in a retirement community, if someone has a heart attack, an ambulance is not getting through when people are on both sides of the street. It's impossible. If there's a fire truck cannot get through. And on top of that, it's just the sheer inconvenience of having all the people parking. They park on my grass. They turn around right in the middle of the street when they're done playing. They just turn around right there, drive onto my grass, back up to turn around. They come around the corner, they go into all of our driveways, turn around, go out. It's just constant problems with the volume of people playing pickleball there. And we only have 2 courts. You said you have 6? Yeah, we only have 2. And there's 8 people there playing all the time, obviously very popular, everybody loves it. But it's just the volume of people in our neighborhood, and this is our neighborhood, these are our homes. The volume of people in our neighborhood, it's just not right. I look at the cars, there's cars from Wisconsin there every day. So people are inviting their friends to come and play. Every day there's Wisconsin cars. I have friends, a lot of friends that live in Woodbury. they come to our courts and play because they like our courts better than the ones in Woodbury. So, for us, it's the noise and the parking. So, that's all I have to say. Any questions?
Thanks, Tony.
A question. Do you have a suggestion for parking that you'd like to see there?
Well, I requested no parking on one side of the street.
Would that be sufficient to you?
Well, it would solve the problem of fire trucks and ambulances and getting through. I mean, it's still gonna help the volume of people there. So that's not really gonna solve the problem, but they should not be able to park on both sides of the street. I mean, that's a given.
Okay. Thank you.
If any of you guys go there and look, you'll see instantly. I mean, just do it yourself. Park a car on both sides of the street and try and drive up the middle. It's very tight.
Any other clarifying questions?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Next, Dana.
Hi, my name is Dana Echeverria. I have lived in Lake Elmo and in my neighborhood since 1982. And my mother and her 9 siblings for a very long time before that. So I've got to watch Lake Elmo bloom and grow. I have played at Pebble Park my entire life, including tennis and basketball. And I know I responded to the survey when you guys were considering changing it to pickleball. I wanted a skate park. I've got a boy who likes to skate. I think it would be really cool for a community to have it. I 100% agree with John. I should have listened to him before the park was built because we had someone as kind as Paul did yesterday and bring us information. I didn't think anything about it because I have lots of family that loves to play pickleball. But when it got built, I started to realize how obnoxiously loud it is. And on top of it, my yard is directly across from Pebble Park's entrance, so I can see John's house and I can see all the lights. I did bring you guys pictures as proof of light pollution. This picture is from May, and this picture is from last night. And I had them printed so that you guys have visual proof of the light pollution. If I didn't have very old, beautiful trees, this would be right in my backyard. The sound is so loud, there is no sanctuary anymore. There's no crackling of bonfires because all you can hear are the pating of balls. In a gym, there's etiquette. You can't be grunty, you can't be loud, and I have heard more grunts and thrusts since this has been established. And I come from a family of Stillwater athletes, so there is etiquette in all sports, and this one seems very brash. So I side with most of the people. I didn't know that my house was only 454 feet from the pickleball courts. And at bare minimum, I think you need to at least move it for 600 feet, which I don't know how that's gonna happen because you're gonna affect a whole bunch of other people. This park is huge, but I don't know that you wouldn't be affecting Paul or other neighbors or even Oakdale at that point. I don't really have much more to say to it, but I would love to hand these pictures off to someone.
Great, thanks, Dana. Sure. Are there any clarifying questions for Dana? Okay, thanks. Next, Jill.
Hi, I'm Jill Knuckleby Kaiser, and I live at 8241 Deer Pond Court North. And our property goes right up to the back of Pebble Park, and we, those lights shine directly into our bedrooms. And not only the hours that are listed, there have been several times where the hours, the lighting timing has been off, so in the middle of the night, the lights have come on. I realize things happen and problems happen, but There's nobody to call in the middle of the night when the lights are shining right into your bedroom. And so when I called during the day, they got on it within a couple of days. So that's a consideration that I don't think was properly taken into account. And then I do have to ask the question, if the standard is 600 feet from a home, it's intentionally plopped between multiple homes, which are well within that 600 feet. And then the other thing I heard was that there have only been a couple complaints. And so that doesn't seem like a very proactive approach, to put something in place that's against recommendations and then say nobody's complaining and putting us in the position of being neighbors who complain. I have called the police because we've had hours where somebody is there much later and we can, as mentioned, we can hear what they're saying and it's not very appropriate. And especially when we're trying to raise a decent human being who's younger than voting age, to have to hear their neighbors out there swearing away, is really not the community that I think we want to live in. I realize you can't police individual behaviors, but there are some things that we can do. So as I look at the report and having one of the options being do nothing, I realize that's always an option, but it doesn't seem like a fair option at all when the pickleball was already placed within the boundary of 600 feet. Just kind of waiting for people to be irritated, and that's really not the kind of neighbor I want to be. I want to be more proactive and solve things in advance rather than create a problem and just hope that nobody complains. I kind of think that's the way that you would approach this too. So I do think this needs to be addressed, and that you can like John said, if more notice, we could get more people here, because I don't think do nothing is an option. These are people's lives, their homes, their home values, and our individual daily experience is less than optimal. I like pickleball. I like saying that we can walk to a pickleball location, but it's really, if you look at the lifestyles that have been impacted here, I think that needs to have a stronger voice than the day-to-day little enjoyment. So that's probably enough for me, but lights, sound, and taking do nothing off of your options is definitely my recommendation.
Are there any clarifying questions for Jill? No, okay, thank you. Next, could we have Paul?
My name is Paul Boltman. I live at 8243 Deer Pond Court. I've lived there for 24 years, and I loved living there for 23 years. My home is 360 feet from the courts at Pebble Park. We are subject to nearly constant percussive sound, as described, of the paddles hitting the balls. Most days this occurs between 8 and 14 hours a day. It's actually surprising to me how loud that is, the paddle hitting the ball. I wouldn't have anticipated that. And as described, it's accompanied by a fair amount of yelling by the participants. But to me, the main problem is the sound of the percussive sound of the paddles hitting the balls. Exposure to constant noise is a known stress inducer in humans with serious health consequences. There have been numerous studies confirming this. I like to believe that if the members of the commission, I know you weren't all on the commission back then, 2 years ago, and members of the city council were aware of the noise problem that pickleball causes, they would not have placed the courts in neighborhoods with adjacent houses, especially without any notice to or feedback from the neighbors. In addition to the negative mental and physical health impacts of being exposed to near constant noise, there is the issue that's already been brought up of the detriment to our housing values. I'm sure my housing value has gone way down and it would probably be difficult to sell my house. The staff report discusses the fact that the tested noise decibel levels were in compliance with the noise ordinance. But the issue is not the decibel level, it's not the level of the sound, it's the constancy of it. Decibel level ordinances are usually enacted to protect people's hearing, but they're not enacted to protect people from the stress of the constant noise. In one regard, the Parks Commission and the city should be commended for proactively providing these facilities to meet the fast-growing demand of this popular activity. From what I can tell, Lake Elmo has many more pickleball courts than the adjacent suburbs. I did a little bit of looking. Unfortunately, the inconvenient truth is that something that generates this much noise does not belong in a park with closely adjacent homes. In regard to the 5 options provided by the staff report, I strongly believe that option 1, moving all pickleball courts to a location meeting the 600-foot guideline advised in the 2024 Lake Elmo's Park System Plan, is the best and most cost-effective long-term solution. The vast majority of players at Pebble Park arrive by vehicle, so this would not be an undue burden for participants. Just for reference, there are 15 homes within 600 feet of the courts at Pebble Park, 12 homes within 600 feet at Tablin Park, 41 homes within 600 feet at Ivywood Park, and 11 single-family homes within 600 feet at Lions Park. In regard to option 2, merely changing the recommendation, I'm pretty sure that you would not stoop to moving the goalposts as a means to ignore the problem. On that topic, though, I experimented and discovered that the sound of the paddle on the ball can be clearly heard at 800 feet. So really, the distance recommendation should be increased to 800 feet or more. The staff report discusses some possible problems related to noise barriers, and I'm also doubtful that would be a good solution. However, it would be interesting to go somewhere where they actually tried that and see how it works. Option 4 of the staff report is to shorten the playing hours in the morning and evening. Having talked with many of my neighbors, I know that they would welcome that. Some of them are early to bed and some of them are late sleepers like myself. But I wonder how well this would be complied with and how it would be enforced. I would not be against you taking this action, but to me it would only be a Band-Aid to the much larger problem of the stress-inducing noise throughout our days. And as Jill said, option 5, to do nothing, well, I don't believe you're a do-nothing commission. You are all welcome and invited to come to my house and experience what we endure every day. And hopefully you could, if you did that, you could imagine what it's like to listen to it for 8-10 hours a day. Thank you for listening. I will answer any questions, and I will follow up with an email to each of the members.
Are there any clarifying questions for Paul?
And if any of you do want to come and listen, there's always play between 8 and 10 in the morning, a couple games usually. And then in the evening between 5 and 9, there's 4 to 6 games going, if you really want to hear it at its worst. So thanks for listening.
Thanks. Next, we please have Josh.
So I'm Josh Godbout. I live at 8100 Lake Jane Trail. I don't know if I could say it much better than those that have already been up here. I agree with everything that they've said. I would love to see any course of action here to do anything about the issues that has already been stated. I mean, when we go out in our yard and in our deck and try and enjoy the outdoors like we love so much, I mean, it's shocking to us not to hear noise. I mean, it is truly constant. We don't want to ruin anyone's fun. I like playing pickleball. That's not our goal here. But I really do think something needs to be done. I really thought initially that having it kind of in our backyard would be a really, really good thing, and that has very quickly changed. The light is extremely excessive. I don't know if there's anything that can be done about that. It shines right into our bedroom, and late at night, even sometimes past that, when I'm not sure if there's a malfunction or something that happens, but it basically would stay on multiple nights in a row, just constant light. We have to, basically, windows can't be open in the house, otherwise there's constant noise. You know, blinds need to be shut if it's at nighttime, otherwise there's light coming in right in our living room. So I'd love something to be done. Even when we have guests over at our house, that's the first thing they say to us is, wow, that is actually really, really loud. I never realized that many of them are pickleball players themselves, but that is almost the first thing people notice when they come to our house. It's really unfortunate. So thank you for the time.
Any questions for Josh? Okay, thank you. Next, is it Sandra or Chandra? Sandra, okay.
Not very good at public speaking and not very good at standing, so I'll moving on to this. My address is 3646 Layton Avenue North. I just moved in there last December. So when people talk about lights, I'm across from the ball fields. And there's lights from the other ball fields. I moved there, there was lights. I am not gonna complain about that. But what I will tell you is the ball players that are there are so much quieter than that pickleball court that's sitting in the middle of Lions Park. You know when they're playing, when I'm working from home, because I work at the state, and because I have a disability, I work from home. My noise suppression on my speaker goes off over and over and over when they hit that mallet. Now, and so, it's not that though. Pickleball players are a little bit more aggressive. And Lions Park is a very calm park. Even with all the millions of baseball players and stuff, there's never, except tournament weekend, there's some noise. But that pickleball court right next to the children's playground and the loud noise that they make and the lights they flip on can be disturbing to our neighbors. So I know you guys are looking at Lions Park in what, 2026 or something. I want you to consider what that pickleball court is doing to Lions Park. Because the loud bang of it, the loud kids that are there, and like the others, they peel into the parking lot and back out of it. Now, I got dust. You guys do the ball field over and over and over. I dust every day. I'm across from it. But when they're peeling around in that parking lot and pulling out because they're all wound up from pickleball and making their smacking noises, it can become cumbersome. Now, like I say, I moved into it. I'm not going to tell you to change it. I moved into it. It was there when I moved into it. I just wanted to bring that up because it's an older community. The homes are older. I bet you they can hear it. Mine was gutted and remodeled. I got new windows and I can still hear it. So for the rest of my neighbors and that little area, the village of Lake Elmo doesn't feel like a village right now. So I just wanted to make comment that the pickleball is a little loud and obnoxious. Any questions?
Are there any questions? No, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone that missed turning in a form? Okay, great, thanks.
Can I just ask something really quick as a resident?
He's my husband.
That, as a previous first responder, to me, it was a waste of resources to call 911 every time they're out there playing the music past their 10 o'clock. I don't want to have to call the cops or call 911 to say, hey, this is happening. So, of course, you don't have any complaints, but we're dealing with it day to day. That's all I wanted to add.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so as you've heard from a number of the residents, this has came up and council is looking for a recommendation from the Parks Commission in regards to this matter. So just as briefly noted in the background, we installed pickleball courts there in 2020, proposed it in 2023. They eventually got placed in there in 2024, both in Tablin and in Pebble. 6 courts were placed in Pebble, as well as 4 in Tablin. With that, these replaced 3 tennis courts in Pebble and 2 tennis courts in Tablin. Again, the city council approved the reconstruction of those courts after a number of conversations, not only with the Parks Commission, but also with our contractors. Our contractor did end up not getting them fully completed that year, 2023. 24, we actually finished those later in the season. They opened up, I think, right around that June, July era in 2024. With that being said, a number of, we've received some complaints in regards to the noise there. And so the issue before the Parks Commission tonight is, would the Parks Commission like to recommend to City Council a change in the existing use of the pickleball courts if it's less than 600 feet? So our Parks Master Plan was actually completed after the installation of our pickleball courts. So that recommendation in our Parks Master Plan comes from the National Park and Rec Association. So that wasn't a part of our previous recreation plan. So that comes kind of at a hindsight of what we've already completed, right? So within our current system, we have 4 pickleball courts, as discussed. Lions Park, Ivywood, Pebble, and Tablin. All of them have a minimum of 4 pickleball courts, with Pebble Park being the only one with 6. So with that, we've heard from our residents talking a little bit about distances. I have as indicated in the staff report the distances, and those are going from about, these are going from either Google Maps or just from our property viewer from Washington County, right? So we're going from approximately the corner of the courts itself to the closest approximate corner of a house. So again, those are approximate distances. They could be 10 feet more or less than that, I would say. That's a good recommendation there. So just in regards to that, we talk about changes going forward, right? If that's what we pursue to do. If we'd like to change one pickleball court, we should implement that to all of them. So currently, right now, none of our pickleball courts would meet that 600-foot distance. So one of the recommendations was, like one of the residents said, was, well, do you decrease that? You're not going by the national recommendations, but you're trying to meet policy, right? So with that, if you do look at our distance again, it might be pretty hard to do so, but it's an option, right? The current plan to update our Lions Court comes into question as well. In the last couple of months, we've already talked about Lions Court, what we want to do with that ice rink. We also want to include that pickleball with it because that was a hot item there before. It was kind of where we started, and it's been a great asset down there. So with our recommendation that's coming forth today, we do need to take that into account as we move forward with the 2026 reconstruction plan of that. If that does include pickleball courts, or if that does not, and it's purely solely an ice rink or whatever we decide to do with that going forward. In the report, it does talk about noise barriers. As part of the city council, they did authorize at one point the administrator to approve that if we were to go that route. We did do those noise ordinances as discussed by the public here today. We did that, and it did not meet that decibel noise, and that's why we did not pursue that any further. There are options in regards to the noise blankets. I have indicated in there, at that time, there was about $35,000 if we were to put that noise barrier there. That would include 2 sides of that court only, and this is just regards to Pebble Park now. So that is one of our larger caged areas, so you are looking at probably the highest range there. Those prices do come from the 2023 price, so you can probably increase that by 10 to 15% to do those 2 sides continuously. As far as maintenance on those, there's some conflicting issues with that, or conflicting stories in regards to that. I put 3 to 5 years probably. When you look at the distributors in their comments, they can last 10 to 15. You have others that last 20. It just really depends on the product you buy, the cost that you're going to invest in it, and then what you have there as far as rodents or anything that else is going to eat at it, or sun barrier, the sun rays and things like that might deter that or deteriorate that material. The material there that is noted there at the $35,000 is material that is used currently right around many generators and things that are outside, so it is kind of a similar product that you'll see outside regularly, that you might see at a hospital, industrial building, apartment complex, things like that. Probably not in that vast area like that, covering 200 feet one way, 100 and some feet the other, more of a condensed, probably 10 by 10 area that might cover up a generator, right, 10 by 20. With that, I'll just kind of review those options again. Again, recommending moving individual or all pickleball courts and search for a different area that would meet that distance of 600 feet. Number 2, making a recommendation to reduce the distance to accommodate those existing courts. Installing a noise barrier blankets on an individual basis. Adjust the playing hours to allow more quiet time early in the morning or late in the evenings. And number 5, just moving forward and doing nothing at this point. With the minimum number of complaints the city has received regarding the pickleball noise in our parks and the decibel level not exceeding the ordinances, staff would recommend considering adjusting the playing hours on one or more of the courts based off complaints. Traditionally, 3 adjustments would be based off complaints from one residence or through a petition process abutting neighbors or neighboring 600 feet. The ability to enforce it is kind of unknown. As we as staff, we might ask the sheriff's department to, go into a park more often just because we might see graffiti or we might be something happen. It's only based off their ability as well. So us to enforce hours, like the public said, probably, you're not gonna see public works out there till late at night, 10 o'clock, making sure lights are off, things like that. It's gonna be enforced by the abilities that we have in front of us. So with that, I'll turn it back over.
Are there any questions for Adam?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah,
Adam, two questions that are gonna, this is about memory, so I'm gonna put you on the spot, but can you remind me, I do not recall what the decision was on Ivywood parking when we made it a couple of years ago. The council made a decision about parking. Can you remind me of?
Yeah, so we did propose a different parking area there. That would be just actually to the east of that pickleball area in the pavilion. The price cost of that was about $90,000 without a stormwater pond, I think at that time, to have it engineered and to have that stormwater, because there would be runoff, there would be curb and gutter with that just kind of really escalated that price of that. So I think that's kind of where that stood as far as just kind of halted it at that time.
But do you recall anything about side of the street parking? I believe there was discussion.
There was a discussion in that as well. I think that was just based off our standards, what it currently was. they left it as it is. They
Okay,
weren't gonna change it.
based on citywide standards?
Yeah.
Okay. And then also, if you recall, I know we had discussion at city council, I thought had approved sound mitigation blankets at one time. Is that accurate, or do I misremember that?
Yeah, so when we initially presented it, we did have one council member that added that in there at the discretion of the city administrator. And so later on, that city administrator did not enforce that.
Oh, okay.
I do have a couple questions. Being that I was not here for much of this, can you just walk me through this? I have two process questions. How were individuals that spoke tonight, were they notified? Can you explain how they got the information? I heard some say they got it late. Can you let me know, is it word of mouth, looking at the agenda? Did they know this topic was on the agenda? Can you just walk
So-
me through that a little
Yeah,
bit?
so communities were not notified like directly that what the agenda is. This is just posted when it's posted on the city website, so that's their notification of that.
Okay. And then my second question, and this is kind of going back, what has been the general process when these pickleball courts were put in at these parks in terms of neighborhood engagement, feedback, opportunity to provide feedback, those type of things? What's been the process for that?
So we, back in probably 2022, we started a survey of DeMontreville, Pebble, Tablin, someone remind me of the fourth one.
Read?
Yeah, we did 4 parks right out of the go. And it was one of those, and a bunch of the surveys had questions in regards to the conditions of equipment, the courts, whatever that park may have. And so the results of those surveys, which was pretty minimal at that time, so this is a community survey that was posted just on our website in all the parks, just through a QR code that they could answer. So it was open to anybody that was using the park to answer the survey. We did get a whole lot of results from that survey, you know, as far as individual parks, but a lot of it was in regards to replacement of the playgrounds, conditions of the courts, what they would like to, you know, should we remove them or, you know, return back to pickleball with a combination of tennis. At that time that I can remember, both courts were continue with tennis with a recommendation of pickleball included.
Okay. My last question is are we renting these courts, or is the use predominantly just open play? Or are there groups renting it for certain periods of the day or evening?
So 3 of our courts, Pebble, Tablin, and Lions Park, are reservable. So 2 months ago, we went through the reservation policy, and
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So we went through the reservation policy. So those are reservable. Ivywood is not reservable, so that's just open to the public. Anybody can show up at any time to engage in a game. So as noted by the public, the hours of those are 8 to 10 o'clock at the lighted one. Tablin is the same hours. It's just that they're probably limited because there's no lights there. So we'd probably get more reservations at Pebble and Lions than we do the other two, than we do Tablin. So.
I've got a question for you, Adam. Can you speak a little bit about if you have any extra information about the lighting and maybe some, you know, breaking in periods with the timing or anything like that?
Yeah, so during reconstruction, we did redo the lights there to LED lights versus
Fluorescent
the
or
old-
halogen?
The halogen lights, right? So, and the purpose of that was just because of the cost of the lights, what they were used for energy, plus we got energy savings in doing so. The timer, it is an electronic timer that was that's currently set from like 5 to 10 PM, correct? So we did have outages, which does screw up with that timer to offset that, so that's why we did have those issues before. We did have staff correct that, and they were wrong, honestly, they were wrong, so the next day they did come back on at 1 AM. And so, yes, we do definitely apologize for those issues, and she was exactly correct. So I think that happened, I would probably stemmed a little longer, maybe exaggerating a little bit, but it might have been a week between, probably ended up over a weekend, things like that, in order to correct that issue. So, there is a battery in there now that we can replace to make sure that doesn't happen, so.
Okay, so like any run-of-the-mill power outage now should not necessarily affect those lights because there's a battery in there? Okay.
You're still flickering. They turn on and off.
The option number 1, the city staff consider that option to be going forward for moving them within, outside of 600 feet, or well, maybe not immediately, but closing them down?
So, so our recommendation, when, National Park and Recs and our Parks Master Plan initiate 600 feet. So that's what we should follow, right? As far as recommendation 1 would be to make that recommendation, and we would remove the nets from all pickleball courts until we find a site that's suitable to meet that.
Okay, thank you.
Do we know of any pickleball courts in other communities that have had issues near us that have used some sort of noise-reducing blanket or something else? Do we have any other situations
As far as local communities, I did not research that, to be honest with you, who else is doing that. It is, there's a number of articles out there where it does talk about the noise issue, the distances, and of course, there's vendors that provide solutions, right, or, offer solutions. So in Florida, there's a number of areas that, if it's anywhere, that's what they use is the sound mitigating blankets, right? To reach out with them, would be the next thing to do to see if it's actually working.
There is one court in Stillwater that has, they say it's a sound barrier, but it's a poor wind barrier, actually. I don't think, it's just on one wall, and I don't see how it's helpful at all, at least the one that they use there.
Yeah, they tend to have very mixed results in use, so I'm not sure it's a long-standing solution.
No.
There was 3 options that were provided initially with the pickleball courts, in regards to price, right? So I think what Commissioner Pat Barrett's talking about is just more of a wind and maybe a visible, like you might see at a tennis court or like even a baseball field, right? So it is more, you can put your emblem on and things like that. It's more of just a visual thing, right? The next one was more of a plastic barrier, a little more expensive. Effectiveness, not 100%. There wasn't great feedback or results from that. The next option was the generator blankets, or the blankets to mitigate noise.
Just to follow up on that, so the Parks Master Plan, one thing that it also mentions is that there's a 50% noise reduction with appropriate equipment potential. We don't have any insight into that, or if we do, do you?
Say that again. What's the question?
In the Parks Master Plan, they mentioned that with appropriate equipment, there can be up to a 50% noise reduction. We don't have any details on that, though, do we?
I do not.
Okay.
I think that this is something that we can't decide at one meeting. I know that there are a number of cities that have a pickleball park that will have, like in Arizona and Florida, and actually in the Twin Cities, there's a couple suburbs that have a park with 16 or more courts. I don't know if they're 600 feet away from the nearest house, but all the pickleball courts of that city are in one location. And that's a really nice setup, but that again would be a major purchase like we went through with finding the ball fields for our city. So I think perhaps we can look at short-term. I know the neighbors probably wouldn't be happy that it's not going to be immediate, but I think it's ideally we could look at things that we can do now, like have a shorter time period, maybe have shorter time hours rather for playing pickleball. There's the issue with enforcement, but I think most pickleball players will follow the rules. Stillwater has just changed their pickleball systems, and now they have I wish I'd taken a picture of it, they have large signs with rules, guidelines about being polite, being neighborly, the process of waiting for other people to play so you don't get the whole court for the whole time. If there's people waiting, you need to take turns going in and out. And I know that it's not going to help for everybody to follow those rules, but I think most people are good people and will follow that, especially if they're aware of how it affects other people in the neighborhood. So I think I would like to start something sooner than later because we have a lot of people who are concerned about it. I'm an avid pickleball player myself, and I know what you're talking about, but I don't think we can close them all down, and yet we can't jump to the best solution right now regarding time and cost and so forth. But I think we should start with like the light timer, and I don't know if they can move the practice board to the other side. I think there's additional space where the practice board is at Pebble Park, but I think we should work together to find some small steps that we could start now to appease the neighbors.
Do we have any other questions for Adam?
I have a possible recommendation, or not recommendation, but for the light problem, we could install some sort of like cone where, based off these photos, it looks like the top of the trees are getting hit by the light. And I think if we installed some sort of cone thing, that would actually focus the light more onto the courts instead of all over. I think that could definitely solve much of the light pollution.
I guess I have one more question for you, Adam, and then it sounds like we need
I've
a
got
motion.
question as well.
A couple more questions, okay. So my question for you, Adam, is I know that you've been really great at being opportunistic about when there's opportunities to plant some new trees in parks. Have any new trees been planted in the past year or so at either Ivywood or Pebble Park near this pickleball?
Yeah, Ivywood, Pebble, and Tablin all have received trees in the last year.
Okay.
As far as borders and things like that, that does come into play, a placement for them. So in regards to one neighbor, they were not placed in that directional line on that side of the fence. They were placed on the other side of the pickleball courts.
Okay. Peter?
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'll skip it.
Okay. Any other questions
Well,
for Adam?
I'm not sure how enforceable this would be either, but for the reservable courts, I mean, who's reserving the courts. If there is a complaint at a certain time or a certain consistent, like if it's a group that's playing and there's consistently complaints, I mean, I'm just wondering if we know the people that are reserving them at specific times, if there's anything that could be done for those people, like if we have signs and guidelines, if there are people who aren't following them, is there something we could do as far as a reservation? So, just a thought.
Or reduce the number of, an option would be to reduce the number of rentals. And just like we talked about with the time as well.
Yeah.
In the short term, until we can have more discussion about other opportunities and solutions.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions for Adam, or else maybe we'll take a motion so we can have some more discussion as commissioners? Okay, could I have a motion? Does anyone want to propose a motion?
I'll propose a motion. I move that we adjust playing hours to allow more quiet time early in the morning and late evenings.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Okay, I'll kick us off with the discussion here. I think that The hours seem really actionable today. I think that lights on until 10 PM, like that seems like a pretty low hanging fruit to adjust in my opinion. I think that 9 would be much more reasonable, or even if there needs to be flexibility there, like an hour after sunset. I also think that it seems prudent to think about tabling this and recommending to staff that we talk about this in more detail in the coming months, thinking of a longer-term solution potentially. Yeah.
I'm in favor, I think low hanging fruit is a good way to put it, as far as the time. I've long thought that that Pebble's, time, there's only a couple other parks, maybe one other park that has that time past sunrise and sunset. I know that's probably not sufficient to some of the folks here, but it's at least in line with the rest of our parks, sunrise to sunset. That seems to make a lot of sense. I don't know why those lights existed, at that specific park, whereas the vast majority, I guess, Lions, we'd have lights, but the rest of them, we don't. So I'd like to see that in line at a minimum. I also will just step back a little bit and say I really do empathize with what I'm hearing today. I know how sound can be intrusive. I get that. I'm also, you've heard me say before, that sometimes when we have some of these problems where it's people having fun, I have a hard time, I have to balance those two. That's part of our job, so I think, as you said, I think we can come up with some compromises here, the light being one of them. I do think it's worthwhile exploring, and we had that discussion previously because I believe that we needed to consider sound mitigation barriers. I think there are some. And I think what you were referencing in that manual is there's balls at a minimum, if not paddles, that reduce noise. I don't know if they work.
Okay.
But it's something that we could certainly explore, and that maybe speaks to tabling it, maybe not, but that is a potential compromise and solution to this. As far as, people carrying on, the swearing and so forth, I've played there many times. I haven't experienced it, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I personally haven't experienced that. It's not me doing it, I promise. But that's a, yeah, I guess I don't know what we do about that. You can post all the regulations you want to say be nice and not swear and so forth, and people tend to still do it. But that's as far as Pebble, I think, Pebble Park, I'm focusing on that because, not just because most of the people are from there, but I do think it's probably the most problematic. Ivywood, I hear the complaint about the parking. I think the previous discussion around parking limiting to one side, I'm not sure why that was tabled or why that was voted down. To me, that there are exceptions to why you don't park on both sides of the street in various locations around the city, whether it's around the lakes with the postings for no parking trailers or whatever it is, no parking areas. That's certainly a viable solution that I would like us to see recommending to council for Ivywood in specific, especially for safety reasons. Sorry, that was kind of long.
I'll also just put it out there that I received some emails, I don't know if other folks did as well. Hank forwarded them on to me, but some residents had reached out just saying that they enjoyed the pickleball and lived nearby and didn't have big issues. So I know that there is a wide range of experiences here, right? People might not be home all the time. People might have different, just different experiences. So that is real here.
staff would concur with Commissioner Peters' recommendation too, that if you're going to adjust time, to just completely turn off the lights to mitigate the issue. So of course, yeah, as we go into the fall, those times get shorter. Those summers, you might be, you're still restricting that time to approximately 9 o'clock without those lights. And as we go to the fall, that time becomes a lot shorter.
I think especially as we enter winter and there's a lot less pickleball being played, I think that gives us a lot more time to figure out a more long-term solution to this as well. So I think there's no reason to rush anything or do anything irrational.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I like the multi sort of phased approach where we can do something in the short term, but then look as we move forward as longer term solutions.
Yeah. I also think that looking into the reservation policy with the sportsmanship conduct, if there's a, refundable portion for courts, and I know that gets a little bit more challenging if only a portion of the courts are reservable, then there's less accountability. But we have not, that's still an active thing I think that we could play with potentially.
I think one thing I just sort of highlight from my perspective again is that lights, sound mitigation are temporary compromises. I do think that by the next time it comes around for resurfacing, we do consider closing them, and I don't know. It seems to me that tennis is more palatable to people. I guess I don't know that for certain, but maybe we resurface them and net them for at least Pebble again for tennis when we resurface. I'm not in favor of closing them down now. That to me, now that we've made that investment, that seems like that would be irrational.
I believe the National Parks and Recs distance for tennis is the same.
Is it really? Okay.
Very close.
Can I ask a quick question? As far as staff looked into any parks where we would be able to work outside of that 600 feet? Are there locations where this could work?
So,
Do you know?
the only site at this time would be the new 120 acres or.
I'd say that across the board at parks, we would not have pickleball or tennis.
Correct. With the discussion of it being placed at Ridge Park, it would not fit in there either.
Okay.
Other discussion?
Oh, I'll just say I'm in favor of, or not in favor of the current motion. I think we should strengthen a little bit.
Would you like to propose an amendment then?
I wouldn't do an amendment. I would vote no on the current.
Can I remove my motion? Would that make it cleaner and you redo another one?
Yeah, you can make a motion to remove the current.
Okay. Are you
Motion.
okay with that, Peter, or you want to start fresh?
It's your motion.
I move to drop my initial motion.
I'll second that. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Is there a motion for another, or a movement for another motion?
I would make a motion for pickleball hours. No, I'd make a motion for our park hours at Pebble to be in line with the rest, sunrise to sunset. And recommend that city staff explore noise mitigation, including noise reducing blankets, as well as equipment and then report back with findings before we make any further recommendations to city council. With, sorry, this is still going. Oh, Ivy would recommend parking on one side of the street around the park. That's a pretty lengthy motion, I apologize.
Okay, so right now we have a motion to adjust park hours at Pebble from sunrise to sunset, limit Ivywood parking to one side of the street, and recommend that city staff explore noise mitigation, including noise blankets and equipment, and report back on findings before making further recommendations to the city council. Can I have a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion on this current motion. I'll start, or go ahead.
So where does that leave us looking a little bit more long-term and asking staff to explore what that may look like, whether that means a new facility, whether that means in the future as we change parks or renovate parks? I think there needs to be some, I'd like to see some longer-term study on and discussion around what we do with just overall. You know, you talked about, you know, you don't want to close them down, but is that an option? Do they get repurposed? I know that was mentioned as well. So I think there's a little bit, I just want to make sure that that doesn't get lost with just us focusing on kind of the short-term solutions.
So Peter, currently Adam, we have 16 pickleball courts citywide, correct? Okay. So maybe we should ask them to look for needed parameters if we had somewhere with one site with 16 pickleball courts. What would be the Parks Board suggestion? Is that something realistic that we could do in Lake Elmo? That would be a longer term thing, you know. If we knew what the parameters were for either 8 courts or 16 courts or whatever, then we could look ahead. Since none of these are in compliance after the fact, do we want to look that far out? Is that what you're saying, Tracy?
Yeah, because there's gonna be an opportunity where we might have another park that comes before us that does want pickleball. And we're gonna run into the same issue. And these are all neighborhood parks. And clearly that seems to be problematic with pickleball. Now, in some communities, it probably works out fine, but I just would like us to talk about longer term, and maybe a 16 complex isn't possible, but I think we should explore it, and then I think we should look at if that's not viable, then what are some other options to pursue? But I think we have to look at the whole picture.
I guess I'll just add to this discussion, the Parks Master Plan did do some pretty, comprehensive engagement, and pickleball, there were a lot of comments on needing more pickleball courts. Of course, that is, these courts were actively being resurfaced when I think the requests for comments went out. But, we shouldn't forget that we have that resource and the findings in that report as well.
Yeah, Tracy, I guess from my perspective, I was just making the motion on what's currently in front of us, knowing that if we have future request or future parks coming in, that we're gonna be able to rely on that 600-foot. I'm certain we would follow that guideline. These were all before that guideline existed. Well, maybe not before the guideline existed, but before we had the report anyway. So going forward, I don't know that we need a special study to determine. I think we would follow those guidelines as far as where they go. Yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. What we need to do long-term, I don't know that we need to decide that tonight, but maybe we do.
No, I don't think, I just don't want that to get, we focus on a parks brought before us to resurface and we just automatically go and do that, or, so we're thinking a little bit more broadly.
Yeah. I hear you.
Other discussion? The current motion?
Yeah, again, city council's looking for a recommendation, so the only second part of your recommendation is for staff to revisit with other options. I think we have a direct recommendation now with like possibly a second motion for additional research.
Okay. I'll make a motion then to,
Pete already has a motion.
oh, right. I'd like to propose an amendment to the current motion then. To split the current motion, or I guess we have to take it off the table first. Okay, do we have further discussion on this current motion to adjust the park hours at Pebble from sunrise to sunset, limit Ivywood parking to one side of the street, and recommend that city staff explore other options, including noise mitigation, blankets and equipment, and report back on the findings before making further recommendations to council?
I'd ask that
Okay.
if you're gonna, the light issue if you're just gonna do Pebble, that you do lines too.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to amend the current motion to adjust the park hours at Pebble and Lions from, or to, okay, clarifying question, Adam. What are the current hours at Lions Park? And have staff received noise complaints about any other sports that, or, gatherings that go on past?
We have received complaints this year in regards to baseball, just, they do have a time frame in regards to when those lights need to be turned off after a ball game.
Okay.
This year, we did have a number of complaints in regards to, baseball teams not complying with that, playing after games, lights remaining on until way into the evening hours, so yes.
Okay,
I have a clarifying question, because at night, in the winter, the skating rinks are open past dark.
Yep.
So I don't know that we can make a blanket statement about sunrise to sunset. Overall for all parks.
I support that.
So perhaps we would drop the part that says keeping it in line with other parks and just say sunrise to sunset at pickleball courts at the two parks with lighted courts?
Okay, so, sure. Would you like to propose that amendment?
I don't have all the wording.
Okay, I can do it. Okay, I'd like to move to amend the current motion to adjust the park hours at Pebble Park and Lions Park for pickleball to be sunrise to sunset without lights. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so on the floor right now, we have the the motion for the amendment to adjust park hours for pickleball at Pebble and Lions Park from sunrise to sunset without lights. Any discussion on that?
Yes. Now that I'm thinking about it more, a sunrise can be 5 o'clock in the morning. Do we want to have it start later? You know, like 8
That
o'clock?
seems super reasonable. Yeah. Yeah, I think I support that. I feel like I don't have enough information on a start time, though.
Is it, a question, is it currently 8 o'clock? Is that what it is on reservation?
Our reservations start at 8, yes.
Okay, but other people can show up. I think John said some people show up at 7:30. Okay. So we can set it like 8 o'clock, like the reservations. There's no one there to enforce it, but
And those are the rentals that are starting at 8?
the
Those
reservations.
are the reservations.
So can we just not do reservations starting at 8?
But there's people other than.
Right,
the
right, it's
people
open to
that are there.
the
Yeah.
public, I get that.
I mean, the same group can show up even if their reservation doesn't start till 9. They can all be there at 8.
I think you're gonna have a hard time saying that parts of the park is open and
Right.
pickleball is not. So I'm in favor of a standard sunrise to sunset. I realize, again, that's not gonna solve the problem to people that have that issue. That's not gonna be sufficient, but it is a step in the right direction until we can figure out long-term. And consistency matters. We can't just carve out a pickleball time and have another park time.
I think that's where it would be good for staff to because there's many communities, to find out what other communities are doing, because we're not the only community that has struggled with this. Maple Grove was in the paper for this. Woodbury a few years ago had a major problem with their leagues at a neighborhood park. So I think we could gain some insight on maybe what has worked in other communities. Not saying that it would work here or we could tweak it, but I think there's some information that we could gather, as well as information from cities that have used or not used sound barriers and the blankets. Because there are ones that have been installed in some communities that have worked and some that have not, so. But you're right, we have to start somewhere, and I think just show some progress and try to provide some short-term path forward as best as we can until we can figure out and have more information on longer plans.
Perhaps we should stick with the sunrise to sunset for now, and hopefully by spring we would have something in place.
Or the reservation policy could provide more clarity into that aspect. You've got something to say to us, Adam, but I have a question for you. Do we have the authority to recommend to city council about parking recommendations? Or is this something that would be better approached with, like a staff going out there and getting some more detail on how the road width compares to various safety standards and such?
At this point, it'd probably be back to the community member to ask, go back and ask that question again. I don't recall what who that community member started this conversation with, but it did go through our fire department, our public works director, our engineer, as far as how that road was built, what it was intended to be for, and that's why that recommendation was made by city council.
Okay.
So, if it's like an appeal of that decision, they could definitely write that to the city administrator or to that. That'd be my suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Could you read us the motion back, because we have that on the
Absolutely.
table still, right?
We do. So the motion right now is to adjust park hours for pickleball at Pebble and Lions Park from sunrise to sunset with no lights, limit Ivywood parking to one side of the street, and recommend that city staff explore noise mitigation, including noise blankets and equipment, and report back on findings before making further recommendations. Well, any other discussion right now? Motions for amendments? All right, I'll call the question then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Item 2 on the agenda today is the Lions Park playground replacement.
Thanks, everyone.
So again, we reviewed this last month, but the Lions Park playground was initially installed in 2000 and has currently surpassed its lifespan and is slated for future replacement. As discussed in 2024 and 2025 capital improvement plans. Lions Playground is currently scheduled to be replaced next year, 2026. In your packet, I did provide 5 options. We'll go through those options. Again, my options here, I can bring up all 5 options as I go through these. All these are just discussing them individually. So, but if you'd like more detail on anything, please let me know. So option number 1, I'm just gonna back up here just a second. And just a reminder, in our July meeting, we did discuss moving forward with the replacement to including it to serve kids ages 5 to 12, incorporating active play, adding benches, and offering items that would actually continue and be suitable for teenagers to use as well. So again, option 1 offers a single tower structure with 3 slides and additional structures attached by means of a cargo net. The second structure also provides a sliding option with a shade canopy in addition to a merry-go-round, the Topsy spinner, and a swing with 6 seating options. The area is expanded to incorporate additional equipment, including a flex swing, a Rhapsody vibra chimes. This option provides poured-in-place rubber surfacing, which is approximately 2,300 square feet, allowing access to equipment and swings for those with disabilities. The remaining area is filled with safety wood chips. In those pictures, the brown area, again, is safety wood chips, and the green area is the poured-in-place. Total equipment cost for this is about $176,000, with a total price of $298,000. Do you want to ask questions in between these, or do you just want to go through all 5?
Well, you have the picture up, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So is the topsy-turvy spinner on the right side with 2 kids on and one next to it? See on the far right side?
So
The wood
yes,
chipped area?
this item over here is going to be.
That's the topsy-turvy
Yep.
spinner, okay.
So, yeah.
Does this have something that would be specifically for older kids?
So, included in this is more like the, let's see where we got. So a lot of times, these types of swings are more lounging, And so that's what we find that our teens are doing now. That was portrayed as just that lounging effort. But as well as I believe they're, in this one too, is like a pull-up exercise bar. So where exactly that is.
So you can lounge or do pull-ups.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you, Adam.
If you want more realistic photos of any of these objects, I do have them available. So, again, our sensory items would be these chimes. Again, there's like a small mallet that is tied to there where they make music. So it's 3 different heights, and those things, and they. Oops, I'm gonna skip that. Yeah, that's what it does. But, so that's just an example of those. These are the same thing, it's more auditorial, it's like drum, there is some handles and stuff that are available for those as well. So this one, yes, would probably be more your limited, options 1 and 2 are gonna be more your limited on that teenage use.
Thank you.
Option 2 offers a double tower and 2 slides connected with a flex climber. The additional folio balance climber and fox stand serves as a continued place to hang out and explore. A seesaw and 2 saddle spinners are offset from the merry-go-round. This option offers a swing with 6 options as well as 2 zip lines. This playset does offer many ADA components, including adaptable swings, port-in-place rubber surfacing. Again, the total equipment cost for this option is approximately $192,000 for a total cost of $297,000. Again, these fox stand seats that were previously in there. Again, those are noted as very attractable with our teenage groups, right? Definitely just, again, sitting, probably using a phone device, right? But very user-friendly for that. This one does have the monkey bars as well, that would attract them, as well as that cargo net, likely to be utilized by that teenage group. The port in place, again, in this option is around those adaptive areas that one could utilize. That might be, more towards someone that in a wheelchair or might have less mobility. That's where that port in place comes into play again. On the far left, I don't know which picture you're looking at, there is a, you're looking at the PowerPoint, correct?
Mm-hmm.
On the far right, there is like it looks like a tic-tac board kind of, that is like, it is for sensory, again. It kind of gives kids or students ability to utilize the playground at its fullest. How do you get from one place to the next? It's kind of like an ability chart, being able to utilize that as kind of a maze type situation, but also just a way from getting from one thing to the next, and different avenues with that as well. Option 3, also provided by Flagship. Oops. Offers a double tower with 2 slides, the tallest slide being approximately 12 feet tall. Both towers are connected by the means of an elevated tunnel. This structure offers a number of climbing options, access to the tower in addition to a separate forge climber. A zip line, 6 swings, and multiple spinners add play features for active kids, while the Fox Den again provides a place for users to lay and relax. Several sensory features are also incorporated throughout the site as well. 4 benches are installed throughout the area for additional seating for parents, visitors. Again, the total equipment cost for this one is approximately $223,000 for a total price around $298,000.
Could you advance to that picture, please?
Kid, what? Oh, sorry, you guys can't see it. You see it now?
Nope.
Nope.
Kind of hard.
Is it up on your screen?
It's up on my screen, but not up there.
Do you know where present is?
I was in the PowerPoint there. You can click
This one?
That's fine.
Yep, there we go.
Again, with this one, just a couple additional features with our teenagers would probably be your it's a type of pull-up bar, but it's kind of like your Ninja Warrior where those things move. So it's kind of like a bicycle in the air, but with hands, right? You do have your pull-up bar, you do have your net cargo, as well as your zip line, and our Fox Den incorporating over there as well. Option 4, similar to option 3, with the tower structure and slides. Actually, the tower is very similar, and I think just a different color option in this, which we can change at any time. This option offers a separate crab tree climbing structure, which has multiple access point and challenges. This structure is ADA compliant and has multiple climbing routes. Additional music chimes offers a means of sensory play, while a seesaw, a topsy spinner, and a 6-seat swing offer means of active play. 3 benches were installed around the play structure in this portion, in this option for parents and visitors. The total equipment cost for this is $238,000, with a total price of around $315,000. So probably our most expensive option. This structure here alone offers, it can hold up to like 60-some kids at one time. So it does offer almost a playground in itself, right? Our structure up here has a height level of a play level of about 12 feet. Does offer a number of slides, again, very similar to option 2 in that rounds 2, or sorry, 3. Our topsy spinner, as well as our seesaw. Number of swings, again, adaptable swings, similar to what we have in a number of our parks as well. A child swing on the end. Probably the only thing that we would change is maybe moving that child swing next to our regular swings. What we find, question from a lot of our parents is like, if they have a toddler they have a 2-year-old too who wants attention. And so being so far distance, they can't push them both. So that'd be my only recommendation to this design is user efforts to try to put those together. Again, that bar is lower for the means of like the hitting distance of that toddler swing isn't gonna be as much. So you wouldn't be able to put anything out there just because of that, that area, that zone, or that fall area as well, so. Our supplier on this did note, this is all wood chips on here. Recommendation, instead of poured in place on certain areas, like end slides, under swings, a cheaper roll with that would be just the rubber mats. Rubber mats are approximately $200 that you'd put under each individual swing. They'd be less for, just because of the distance under the slides. And those are those wear areas where those chips move a lot or get kicked around. So that is their recommendation with that, just because of the high cost of that poured in place for those specific areas. A lot of time poured in place does have a direction. So just individually putting it under items doesn't help with the ability to get somewhere, right? So
Adam, I have a question. So the crab walk, that structure on the left?
Yep.
It's ADA compliant, but there's wood chips underneath. So would you do a sidewalk that would lead up to this right by that? So it's more accessible to people?
You could. The wood chips are ADA compliant as well. So, the poured in place is probably more user-friendly for somebody that might be restricted to a wheelchair or a mobility device that, had to get through that. But wood chips do meet standards by the National Park and Recs Association for ADA compliance.
Okay, thank you.
I think it did have a. Oops. Oops. I just wanted to show you a live picture of that crap. So again, this one, oh, you can't see it, of course. Sorry. Okay, and then option 5. Option 5 was offered by St. Croix Recreational. This is a 24-foot high double tower with 7 slides. The towers are connected by the means of an elevated rope tunnel. That rope tunnel is very similar to what we put at Pebble Park. So that netting in there, very similar, not solid structure, but has some mobility and movement, but tied and connected with the same material that we have at Pebble. A 4-placement swing set fits into the current swing location and offers a child swing and adaptive swing for users. Multiple access points to the structure offers means of active play and a maze option. Equipment cost for this option is about $227,000, with the total cost right there around $300,000. Again, with this one, the active teens, again, we're looking at likely the swing set. You do have the pull-up bars, kind of a thing on this side as well, just a climbing structure. Again, probably not a lot of teenage things on this one, but an option provided by a different source. So I think the structural height with the swings definitely attracts them, and definitely they'll try it, right? So they'll be up there. So at our National Night Out event, Public Works did survey families that attended the National Out event. Visitors were able to see all 5 options, and they voted in their favorite playset. We had nearly 120 votes from that evening. Option 3 was the most popular, followed by options 2 and number 5. And just let me just indicate, like, the voting was very close. Like, we had 29 votes for number 3. Number 2 and number 5 came in at 26, 27, with 25 at number 4, with number 1 coming in with probably the least at number with 11 votes. So we were all right in there, that 25 or 27 to 29 votes. So to pick or choose, I mean, it's 1 or 2 votes, right? So, but very popular. We had a lot of people stop by, a lot of great comments. You know, some of the dads were like, I gotta go up there right now to get my kid, you know, so just things like that. But everybody, great information. I think everyone was excited for something new down there. So. Our fiscal impact was outlined in our 2026 through 2035 capital improvement plan. The items are funded through the Parks Dedication Fund, while operations and maintenance are funded through the Public Works Department. So future maintenance of this park, that's where that would come through. The current CIP has $300,000 allotted for the replacement of the Lions Park playground set. Our flagship did offer me a port-in-place option for option number 3, if you were to do the whole thing. It does increase the price about $110,000. So you're looking at about a 400 and, you know, I could probably get the exact number, but you're looking at over $400,000 to do a port in place for the whole, that whole square footage area. Now, they've expanded that square footage area. If you look at the, in your packet of those pictures, they have expanded that from what it currently is. I know one of the recommendations was try to keep that in there so you didn't have to do the extra concrete work. They have expanded it a little bit just so that they could fit what we've asked in there, plus a little more. And you'll see like through their the items that they have in there, they have included additional items there, literally probably a little or no cost. And it kind of really does offset that cost for that concrete that you're initiating in there. So if that's $35,000 in concrete, there's probably $35,000 worth of extra amenities in there. If it'd be benches or you know, a spinner or something on that nature added in there just because of that square footage as well. If we do pick one of those options, we do have to work with that vendor as far as placement. If anyone's looked at our Washington County plat on that, the structural lines of that are really skewed. So the current playground set does go into the neighboring property right now, so expanding that in there probably isn't an option unless there's variance and easement for the city to build in there, right? So we would have to work with them in order to make that happen, not only the builders, but our vendor as well, our builders, or the property owners as well as our vendor as well. Just talking with them, we could move closer to the pickleball, or we do have extra room in there where that fountain and where that merry-go-round was, to expand that in the other direction as well. With that, I'll take any questions or recommendation. Again, our recommendation is going to City Council to purchase and install a new playground set at Lions Park. And my recommendation would be not to exceed our current price.
So of those, option 4 was over 300,000, the rest were not, is that right?
Correct. Option 4 was at about 315,000.
Okay.
You know, that did have that whole nother structure that a lot of parks would, that be like the centerpiece, right? So you are adding two big features there with that option.
This question just came to me, Adam, and I recognize that a little more sensitive to this right now tonight. But do you know, have any, for those musical sensory features? I mean, when I have seen them and played with them, like, I've really enjoyed them. But do you know, are there like, are people sensitive to that? Like neighbors? Do we know how far that noise carries? Anything like that?
If you want, I could play it again. I don't know if you heard it the first time.
Yeah.
Of what,
Kind of like wind chimes.
yeah, they're kind of more of like a wind chime, right? With that, so there wasn't any discussion in regards to that with the vendor. It with regards to any complaints or issues with that, but
Okay.
I would not think that it's any louder than Kim noise.
Okay.
So given option 4 is over 300,000, I mean, would they be completely off the table, or like, would we go, if we wanted to choose that one to recommend, would we go back to them and,
No, you're just going over your CIP allotted amount. So we put $300,000 in the CIP for that. We do have money in our Parks Dedication Fund. I didn't bring our balance with us tonight, but there is funds in there. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in Cleiss, I think we increased the value of it. I think it was initially at 150,000, and I think we went up to, don't quote me with the trail and everything, I think maybe 200,000 or something.
oh, okay.
So, we could exceed that, knowing that there's money there. We just need to be fiscally responsible as well.
Yeah, okay.
I like options 3 and 4. 4 is only 11,000 more for parts, but about 17,000 more for install. I think I don't know, it seems like it's worth the money to go to option 4, if you're comparing those two.
Yeah. Well, I like that option 4 is ADA compliant too.
Mm-hmm.
And both 3 and 4 have benches, which I think is a nice amenity to have.
Questions, people were asking on these tower structures, so the tower structure itself is metal, right? These color-coded areas are a metal component as well.
The Lake Elmo Park Reserve just opened a new playground structure
Yeah.
that has that exact style.
Yeah.
Like everywhere, and I mean, I don't think we could really like, it seems like it's probably twice as big as something that we're looking at here, just because of space constraints. So, you know, I know we like our parks to be distinctive, and that might not be it right now. Do we have a motion? Someone wants to propose? Or other discussion? We can just open the floor for discussion?
Can you bring 3 up again?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I want to see 3 again.
I think I had a picture of that. Fortune. These are a sensory thing as well. They turn, but it's also kind of like a,
Oh, it's got a ball in there.
yep, and you move things around inside of them.
Is option 3 the only one with the zip line?
Option 2 had one,
Oh, did it?
ADA
Okay.
compliant one seat, and the other one as well.
That tower on 3 seems a little more open than the one on 4, but maybe I'm just imagining in it.
That crab trap, is that a relatively new thing that's out there, or is it just, you know, something that we haven't seen before?
I don't recall her saying like, or a vendor, sorry, saying when they initially came out with that. I think you look at some of those materials as far as that cable and netting, those are all probably fairly new within like the last 5-7 years. Again, they do numerous testings and have testing sites where they do a lot of these things. So, you know, to say that style and that, you know, architecture of what that is, it's probably been in the market for, 5 to 7 years or something like that. It's probably just really, you're probably really just starting to see it.
My school added one about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Did you test it?
Oh, very fun. I do recommend it.
Personal experience.
I think no matter which park we pick, little kids and everyone's basically going to use it and try it out. I think really for the teenage thing, I do think that the physical equipment is definitely, it's going to attract them because they're going to be like, oh, I can definitely do more pull-ups than you or something like that, and ego, whatever. But I don't think it can really retain people at the park very long. I think after a baseball game, kids might go over and be like, let's play on this pull-up bar for some time. But then after a while, I think what you were saying earlier about how like the building's taller, so it kind of like it's got like the sparkly aspect to it. I think that'd be better for like retaining older people at the park. Like there's almost like a challenge to the park with the height.
Is that the makings of a motion? Or do you have anyone else that has questions or wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move to recommend to City Council the request to purchase and install a new playground set at Lions Park and to recommend option 4 not to exceed $315,400.39. Do I need to be that precise? Can
I would probably just recommend like 317,000.
Okay. I will amend that then. Not to exceed 370.
It said 17.
17.
In the basis of maybe we, option 1 has a shade structure on top, right? This one doesn't, so we'd probably promote to plant some trees, update the drain tile because it is a little bit bigger. Just those small utility items that do come into play. Our parking lot is a whole different CIP item, so trail access and all that can come with that. But just, I think within $2,000, we can do some of the landscaping stuff that might come after installation.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? I think the crab trap looks really cool. I think that would set it apart,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call the question then. The motion on the floor is to move to recommend to City Council the request to purchase and install a new playground set at Lions Park and to recommend option number 4 not to exceed $317,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
I think when you talk with this company, whatever company is chosen at, and we should see if we could be a test park for them since they're both such local companies. I think that would be neat for see if Elmo too.
Oh, yeah.
Have them
They
test
had
new
cool
too.
equipment out at National Night Out, too.
Oh,
We brought them stuff.
oh, cool.
Next agenda item is the park's service level discussion.
Okay, back in May, I presented with the commissioners in regards to what was presented in our 2024 Parks Master Plan. One of the first priorities in there was to add a Parks Director position to the Public Works Department. As part of our 2025 work plan, the Parks Commission added it as an item to review and implement in 2025. The work plan was presented and reviewed to City Council at a joint workshop and approved in February. In June, staff asked the Parks Commission to discuss the service level and staffing needs. Currently not being provided, or currently being provided, and also asking what's not being met, right? Commissioners were asked to submit items they feel the park system is lacking, in addition to any services that are not being fulfilled. So issue before us tonight is what items are missing from the park service level that the Parks Commission would like to bring to the council workshop. And again, we are scheduled to meet with City Council in a workshop coming up in September 3rd or 9th? 3rd or 9th? I could look that up. I was quizzing you guys, but nobody had the answer.
I think it's the 9th.
I believe it's the, did you say the 9th,
I
Pat?
think so.
Ninth.
So we'll find that. So, so I asked commissioners to send me items that they wanted to add to this list, or what they thought this person or position could carry. I did itemize those lists. I tried to get that list in between that 5 to 7 range that we could present within our time frame with the city council on that meeting. So I'll read down through those. I asked if we want to amend those, that we can amend them or change them. In your packet was the list of all everybody's responses on there, or no? So, okay. So
No,
this is a
just
general
a summary.
summary of a majority of those. So the first one was recreational programming and community engagement, community and recreational education programming for adults, kids, seniors, promoting outdoor activities and the use of the park system. Second one was grant writing, explore and secure additional funding sources, mechanisms and partners, identifying and applying and securing park funding via various means. The third one was increased community communication with the use of trails, parks, through the community website, providing additional opportunities, events, and even volunteer opportunities. Making a long-range strategic plan, so that, which would include our parks, improving our parks, the expansions, any new facilities, just creating that larger scope of what our park system is going to look like, not only in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, implementing our next Parks Master Plan, what to include in that, what to make vital use of our recreational areas, right? The fourth one there, coordinating, developing, and implementing a city trail network, including a greater interconnectivity and year-round accessibility. I think there was a number of you that mentioned that, you know, about every year we talk about trail connectivity at some point, but I think this is more pushing towards a number of things, not only year-round accessibility, so that brings in, you know, plowing trails, or accessibility, like making them come out to crosswalks, which has been a conversation as well. So just really having that person be a head coordinator for some of those discussions. Environmental stewardship, managing sustainability initiatives, conservation efforts, and urban forestry programs. So I know we've had a number of conversations, not only in regards to invasive species, but planting more trees. And I think that's where this conversation was going, is kind of finding someone or giving them more directive to really manage and push those initiatives, or offer them up or get them started, right? So with that, I'm open for discussion of any changes or amendments to these items that we want to share with City Council on the 9th. So.
Okay, questions for Adam or thoughts, discussion?
These are not in any priority, is that correct?
They are not. Nope. I really just took those that did respond. I did just take them down through, and several of them are just combined, like even the recreational programming is just, you know, educational programming, and that outdoor activities was just part of that programming part, right?
I feel like this list captures things pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering on the second one, Adam, where it says grant writing, maybe just, maybe a little more, I don't wanna say vague, but global, maybe just like more like funding opportunities, or
Agreed.
establish funding opportunities, or because there's many ways to secure funds besides writing grants, so.
Grants, just one of them.
Right, so just a little bit more global, maybe for that one. But they're all, I think the key when I looked at this list is they're all important and they all deserve priority. But it would be finding somebody that can, but they all tie together, and I think that's kind of maybe the missing piece is that this position would kind of try to tie them all together.
Find some synergies.
Again, this conversation comes up as more of a why, right? And the selling of this position to city council, that it is needed, right? And again, the why the Parks Commission is recommending this, you know. If you listen to the most recent city council meeting where we talked about budgets, you know, this position comes into that play of like, can the city afford it, right? And so, again, when we talk about these things, we'll have that opportunity on the 9th, and I open that up to many of you to express your feelings, your thoughts, your history of the town, of expressing the why we need that, right? Because, you know, there's a long discussion on the budget and how we're gonna meet our expectations. And, you know, when those prices go up, that affects everybody in the community, right? So, you know, I really, again, express to you guys, like, the why and the sale of what this position will be for the community and how it will really help that, so. I think we all listened to the Parks Master Plan as it came through. You know, had a member of the Parks Commission on the, well, actually 2 members of the Parks Commission that were on the board as well, advisory group, at that time. And so we've had some full investment in that. And so really it's just trying to fulfill that full circle of that #1 priority. So that's why I say if we need to amend these, you know, and I think that's a great amendment, Tracy, in regards to just making, you know, funding opportunities versus, you know, adding to that. But that bigger picture of that why and the means of selling that to make sure, you know, if that's what our still our desire is, our need is, right? Because otherwise that might just get, you know, kicked down the road to the next year or the next year until find a different opportunity, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is nothing against you, Adam, but I think parks would be a full-time job in order to do a job of the city our size at this time, you know. We can't expect you to do all this stuff with the amount of time you have allotted to the parks. I think it's really important that this position is made and filled in short order.
Yeah, and I think as we went through the master plan, I think that became evident that, you know, and I think we asked you a couple times, is this sustainable to implement this master plan the way we're structured now? And you kind of said no in a nice way, you know. So I think that if we're gonna spend the money and put in the time to do a master plan, we need somebody that can carry that through. And I think even tonight's discussion about pickleball and long-term, I mean, again, there's only so much time in the day for you to, you know, again, we're asking you to research and those type of things, but that's really what you need in order to, you know, in that full-fledged engagement on a topic, is you need somebody that can devote that specific time to those areas.
I think one thing that's not captured in here, in the summary list, like, is that selling it part. I think we've had discussions as a commission, that one thing that, you know, we all see as important is to think about the sustainability of the funding for parks and various maintenance and things like that, particularly as parks dedication fees might, you know, they're not gonna go on forever. And so I think my recollection is that when Bolton and Menck's contractors were presenting the master plan to us, that they indicated that other towns, like these park directors, kind of pay for themselves that position with the amount of funding that comes in. And so I'm not sure how one ground truths that claim. But I think that the sustainability of funding and maintenance, diversifying the funding streams is something that it makes the ask seem more reasonable to me.
Maybe that, to that point, that second bullet needs to be expanded a bit with the sustainability of long-term funding. Like, I mean, it's just maybe even revising how it's written a bit to get to that point as well. I mean, we need additional funding sources, but a big reason for that is the long-term.
What are we doing in 5 years,
Right.
10 years, 20 years?
And the growth of the city and et cetera. So maybe there's just a little.
Right,
bit of
and the
rewording.
tax base is gonna increase, you know, as the city expands, the tax base is gonna, I would caution, I would not wanna get to a point where we have to, that you're gonna raise funds to, raise enough funds in terms of projects or whatever that you're kind of saying pays for the position. The position, in my mind, should be able to stand on its own, whether someone can come up with grants or whatever to support that, because I think there's a lot of things that this position could do in terms of best practices and efficiencies and operations and those type of things that can also contribute to that sustainability.
I'll just note too, and Peter can probably comment, is that as a Parks Board, we probably recommended more purchasing, updating a number of our parks in the last 3-4 years, more than we probably have in the last 10. We probably spent more money in like the last 4 years in regards to the previous 10 years, right? And so, and I think our finance department knows that. I think our city council knows that. And so they might, and just to give you the inkling, they might tell you to start reeling things in a little bit and start to think about that financial aspect of it, right? Because our finance side is looking at, you know, putting aside money, like, you know, having the community put aside money so we're not just funded by the, you know, development, right? And so that will increase that amount. But what is that amount? You know, is $25,000 a year enough, or is $100,000 a year enough? I mean, that's the big question that's going to come back to, you know, what's cut, what's going to stay, whatever that might be, right? So, you know, I think we just, you know, again, coming back to be fiscally responsible as a commission with what we're planning ahead, but still being open to new ideas, improving our parks to the best that we can, you know, and if it's through this position or changes that we do, I think that's open for discussion too. That's open not only with myself, but also with the city council too. I always say that because, you know, with the pickleball courts, right? We spend a lot of money on those. You know, our playground sets, we spend a lot of money on those, and those have been going, we're on our third year now, right? And so, a lot of money in 3 years, and if you look at our CIP, you know, we have money allotted for the new acreage. We have money allotted for 3 more playground sets. You know, additional resources here, additional, you know, so, you know, those pavilions, we don't have titles or places for them, but they likely will ask, where do you want to do that? And, you know, do we need one every 5 years or every year for the next 5 years? Can we spread that out? Maybe we don't do one next year. Maybe it's maybe it's 2, 5, 7, you know, 11 years, right? So on the 11th year. So, so yeah, just some things to keep in mind, because I think those questions will be asked.
I wonder if we should, under the grant writing one, also, when I go on other city websites with parks, they mention things about gifting or sponsoring different things.
Donation.
Right, I think, again, that's why I'm saying funding opportunities, because it could be sponsorships, the city could establish a Parks Foundation, there's many things besides grant, you know, that.
So it's just like securing additional funding.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
So just
securing
kind of
it,
flip
yeah.
those,
Yeah, just
how
kind of
that's
flip
written.
those, yeah.
Other discussion?
Are you talking specifically about this last section?
Anything on this current agenda item?
I would ask, is there any other changes besides, definitely the grant writing and the funding opportunities to number 2? Would we like to change any verbiage or changes on the other 5?
I think bullet number 3 could be a little clearer, unless I'm just not reading it correctly.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that the community, I don't want to say engagement, but I also think of kind of, and it talks about that in the funding about partners, but I almost think increased community, I don't know, partnership.
Is it park promotion?
Awareness?
I like awareness.
Instead of getting rid of
How is that?
Get rid of communication, make it awareness.
Increased community awareness and engagement, or something like that.
How is that different than the first bullet point?
I think you could take out community engagement in the first one and just keep that as programming. Either recreation or community program, put in events and volunteers under the recreation programming and community engagement. That's just strictly, I think, activation of our park system. So we're gonna spend all this money on our parks, and they get used by the public, but we don't have any programming. So you could take out the community engagement and put that in bullet 3, or reword bullet 3, and just put recreation programming or community whatever, however you wanna word it, and put the events and move the community engagement down below to that 3rd bullet. Because I'm assuming you're gonna talk about these, so.
Yeah,
So
we're
you
gonna
can, so you can explain kind of what,
Yeah, we're gonna talk about,
Yeah.
we're gonna go through each one of these
Yeah.
again.
Do you have a question?
Oh, is there like, what is the difference between bullet point number 1 and bullet point number 3? I'm just a little bit confused.
Number 1 and which one?
Number 1 and 3.
I think number 1 is recreational, like the extra activities that you would put together for students, adults, seniors in our parks, right? Really pushing recreational activities, right? So I think a number one of our neighbors have, if it's lessons, if it's music in the park, if it's puppet in the park, if it's, getting seniors out there to do exercise, just things like that, right? Where number 3 would be more like, I know we talked about mapping on our website, right? Of maybe making trails to increase people's physical activity, where it might be, here's a 5-mile stretch that you can go from the Savona area to wherever, come back to Ringwood and make a 5-mile route, or, different colored routes. Just different things like that. I think volunteer opportunities is a lot separate than community programming. Like Tracy had indicated, getting rid of community engagement out of that number 1, and definitely bringing that down to number 3, where that community engagement is that volunteer opportunities.
Other discussion?
Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like, I know, because I know some of the wording, but I feel like too, like the recreational programming, some of it is like what this position would provide to the community, so programming. I mean, I don't know if communication is part of that, but then getting people involved in the community through volunteer through events. Like, to me, there's a difference there too. It's like, you know, what's provided and then how you get people engaged. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like those are kind of two
They're
different
very
levels.
different, they're very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. The programming, a programmer, that piece would be programs, could be special events, it could be volunteer opportunity.
Recruiting and training people to run those things.
Right,
Yeah.
or partnering with other agencies if there was not means to do that within the city. But partnering, I think that's a piece that's missing on that end. And then, Tammy, like you said, then it's more about awareness and engagement about our park system and opportunities, whether that's trails, whether that's, you know, whatever.
Do you think it'd be more cohesive if we put recreational programming and then the next bullet point is increased community communication and then it jumps into grant writing? Because I think the first two would then be talking about the community and how we can like increase engagement. And then the third one would start talking about funding and other stuff. I think if we jump from programming and the community engagement, jump over to finances and grant writing and then jump back, it could be kind of skewing.
Yeah, I mean, it also strikes me that this is separating into like a couple larger bullet points with these sub-bullet points, right? Engagement, funding, planning. Or, well, no, never
If you,
mind.
yeah, I
These
could
buckets are
cut all
fine.
that stuff out.
You
and
could
just
cut
leave
it, you could cut it into broader categories and then bullet out some smaller things to talk about.
Yeah.
But I like the idea about kind of
Just organizing it.
organizing it. I like that idea about kind of the programmatic kind of community piece and then getting into maybe the, you know, either the financial piece and then the strategic, kind of the strategic piece. I think is a good way to tie, so you don't have the council jumping all over the place and trying to go back and forth like we've just done.
Yeah.
Adam, do you have other questions for us? You're not looking for a motion or anything here?
No,
Just
no.
discussion?
Yep, just discussion. Yeah, I'll make those changes. If you got additional changes to those, please forward those to me. And if you don't mind, I'll forward it back to you as a chair or vice chair and just quick proofread it and let me know. if that works.
Okay, thank you, sounds like a plan. All right, next agenda item, thanks for sticking with this, everyone. Any communications or updates?
No, just a reminder, on the 9th, we do have that meeting with city council. Again, they set that time aside for us, so if you cannot make that, please let me know, just so that we do have enough to make it for their time as well, right? Because there's a number of things on there, so we are allotted likely that 35, 40 minutes, and then they'll move on to the next topic. So during that topic, again, really want to stress these things, so itemize these down, and have a conversation with them. And I hope that's valuable for the Parks Commission. I know we've kind of started in the past, just the last couple of years, really reviewing our plan. But hopefully this adds to that, to just get another face-to-face with them, to really set us where we're at, where we'd like to be, and just really addressing our needs, right?
Adam, do you have a time for that yet?
I believe it's still 6:30 as well.
6:30, okay. Thank you.
Starting this week, our Reed parking lot improvement will begin. Probably noticed that on if you are connected with our city webpage and our flyer that comes out every Friday. So they'll start that project this week. The park will be closed for vehicle access during that time. It probably will be that 3 to 4 weeks for them to complete that totally. It will still be accessible by foot. So I have informed the baseball associations that use that as well, that they might have to use other means if it's Legion Avenue, sorry. Or, a neighboring block to park, because 30th Street is restricted for parking in a lot of that. So you might see some additional parking outside of the park for for those times. We did pick that time mainly because it was right in between that fall ball and that regular school ball that normally ended right there in July. So it's good timing, I think. Fall ball will be starting up when school starts up, so, which has already began, so they're probably already using it, but just to keep them informed of that. So, again, we're probably looking at about 4 weeks, expansion of the parking lot, just a new trail, there'll be a crosswalk across 30th for the accessibility, and that trail will go all the way up to the ball field, as the current one is right now as well. Other than that, I'll take any other questions or follow-ups.
So I noticed in Tavern Park, the trailer that was testing the water is gone.
Yeah.
So there was talk about putting parking lot down there, or are they gonna remove that gravel and put grass in?
So the gravel will be removed. The gate will be put back in there, and that'll be seeded again with,
Okay.
for grass, right? For the winter terms, there will be bales again placed up near or next to the fence or fencing around those permanent wells that
Yeah.
are there as well, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no other communications? Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
That was a lot today.
That was a big one.
Good job.